We are in the official seed planting season as we enter this abundant Taurus and Gemini season of the month of May. But the heavy hitter for May is going to be Saturn finally leaving Pisces just for a little bit and entering into Aries to give us that self discipline to really materialize our ambitions and our goals. Greetings, alchemists. Welcome back to my channel, Hidden Alchemy by Sade. My name is Sade. If it is your first time here, welcome. And if not, welcome back. It is truly always a pleasure for me to keep you all up to date on what is going on astrologically for each month so that you can be aware of how the cosmos are kind of affecting certain areas and aspects of your chart. So if you would like to learn more information, you can always send me an email. We can go over your chart. We can do the things. And feel free to head over to my website where you can find tons of my information. But in any case, let's go ahead and dive into the astrology for the month of May. Now, May, luckily we've really had quite a few months with these transits, but May is not the heaviest month. However, we do have the heavy hitter of Saturn moving into Aries just for a few degrees to give us a taste of what the next year cycle will be. So starting out the 4th of the month, we have Pluto turning retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. Now keep in mind, everyone, Pluto is only at 3 degrees of Aquarius. It's not even that far. And so much has shifted and changed. Now, when we're dealing with Pluto and Aquarius, we're dealing with power struggles because that's Pluto. When we're dealing with the sign of Aquarius, we are dealing with the intellect. We're dealing with the collective energy. We're dealing with technology. We're dealing with societal norms, societal ideas, and the liberation of these things. So what I really enjoy about Pluto going retrograde, and this will be until the fall. So we have a few months. With Pluto going retrograde, and it's only going to go retrograde to about 1 degrees, it's really a good stopping point to reassess where have you been subconsciously holding on to fears around change. We know that change is here. We experienced this last year, especially October, November time. If you get my gist, you understand. So now we are going into this retrograde to really inform us of, okay, where are we still holding on to ingrained patterns, ingrained ways of being in the collective, ingrained ways of thinking, because Aquarius is an air sign, so it rules the intellect. And what are our fears around change that is really preventing us from breaking into a new cycle for ourselves? And the thing about Pluto and Aquarius, Aquarius is fixed. And if you need more information, I made a video on about this about a year or so ago, but Aquarius is fixed. So the change is here. The change is not going anywhere. And the person or the thing that needs to change is you and your perspective as well as your mind. So this Pluto retrograde is a really, really great time to just reassess where you need to embrace the new and creatively problem solve. Especially with Aquarius, it is the intellect and it's involving community as well as relationships and the collective. Now, on the 10th, Mercury will move into the sign of Taurus. And I love Mercury in the sign of Taurus, even though Mercury does like to move very quickly and Taurus is a fixed earth sign. When we put Mercury in the sign of Taurus, especially during the spring season, it really helps us to slow down and get very practical on the tangible things that we want for ourselves. Taurus rules the material world. It rules our 5 senses, the things that we can collect, the things that we can see, and puts meaning to it. Taurus being a Venus sign, but Taurus really being an earthly Venusian sign. So abundance, finances, relationships. And when you put Mercury here, it's getting very clear on what consistency do we want to see in our life. Since Taurus is very fixed, Taurus values loyalty, Taurus values consistency, Taurus values things that are sturdy, and most importantly, things of highest quality. So with Mercury here, we're really going to have a lot more conversations around finances, around relationships, whether they are stable or not stable, around jobs where we are making our money, and around how we want our life to feel. Taurus, being an earth Venusian sign, is really about the comfort and enjoying the pleasures of life. So, where in your life might you not be enjoying these pleasures? And Mercury in Taurus is going to help you to get very practical about what you need to do to attract, since it's Venus, attract more of these things into your life. Now, following Mercury entering to Taurus, we have the full moon in the sign of Scorpio. And as you know, I always do my full moon and new moon breakdown. So I will go deeper into this in my other video. But a full moon in Scorpio is opposing the sun as well as Mercury in the sign of Taurus. So, especially with all this fixed energy, we got Pluto in Aquarius, we got the sun in Taurus, we got the full moon in Scorpio. This is all squaring and opposing each other. If this does not scream change or be dragged, I don't know what will. But this full moon is going to bring to the surface, along with this Pluto retrograding, what hidden truths or fears need to be transformed so that you can plant new seeds of intention. When we are dealing with Taurus energy and dealing with Gemini as well as Aries, it's the spring. So we are ready to clean out the soil, which we did in Aries season. And now that we're in Taurus and it's Earth, we want to plant new seeds. This full moon is asking you, where do you need to still do the deeper inner work to alchemize and transform your situation so it's in the highest regard for yourself? Now, following that, on the 20th, we have the sun moving into Gemini. Now, we know when we move into a mutable sign, we are getting ready to change seasons. Mutable signs are always letting us know, hey, we're getting ready to change. We're not there yet. So finish up what you're doing here, because by the time we enter the next month, we are shifting into a brand new season where some things you won't be able to bring into that season. And the thing about Gemini energy is it moves very quick. So with the sun moving into Gemini, we are shedding light on our curiosity, communications, friendships. We are ready to socialize. I love to say that the sun entering Gemini, in my opinion, is really the official, okay, spring is here, the sun is out, the earth is getting warmer, we're outside, we're communicating, we're collaborating, we're connecting, and we're making plans for the summer. Gemini season is that final season of what seeds are you planting? Because once we move into summer, it is a different season of not seed planting, but leaving the seeds alone and enjoying ourselves under the sun. Now, on the 25th, we have Saturn taking a peek, a slight dip into the sign of Aries. And Saturn is really only going to move to about 1 or 2 degrees. I believe it's just 1 degree of Aries. So it's not too deep in, but it's deep enough for us to get a taste of what this Saturn transit will mean. Now, I have another video on Saturn and Aries that will be coming out at the beginning of this month, depending on when you're watching this video. But very briefly, Saturn is the planet of structure. It's the planet of boundaries. And Saturn really gets a bad rep. And it doesn't need to, because Saturn is all about helping us mature into the being that we want to become. But in order for us to mature, we have to go through a little bit of growing pains. Now, when you put Saturn in the sign of Aries, Aries is about courage, it's about confidence, it's about initiating new things, it's about leadership, it's about taking action in one's own life. Aries is all about the self. So when you put Saturn here, Saturn doesn't like to be in Aries. Saturn loves to be in Libra. So we all as a collective, especially if you are a person with Aries sun, moon, or rising, we will be learning where we lack self-discipline, where we also lack self-courage, where we lack self-confidence, which we've kind of been working on with Chiron. But Saturn in Aries is asking us, it's time to develop the life that we want. It's time to take action, but it cannot be impulsive action. It has to be practical action, and it has to be courageous action, but it can't be quick action, right? So Saturn in Aries, it really feels like you are playing red light, green light, one, two, three, where you're pressing the gas and then it's like, okay, brake. And then you're pressing the gas and it's like, okay, brake. So it's finding the happy medium, the Libra, the balance between going after what we want in terms of independence, in terms of leadership, but knowing that we need to be disciplined and fair in order for things to fully stick and materialize. Now, the next day that Saturn moves into Aries, Mercury then moves into Gemini, following on the 27th, a new moon in the sign of Gemini. So, like I said, when we enter into Gemini energy, things are moving very quickly. And we will also have Uranus moving into the sign of Gemini in July. We'll get to that month when we get there. However, the sun, Mercury, and the moon shining light in the Gemini sector of your chart is going to give you an idea of what Uranus is about to shake up. So if you've been feeling like you are ready, and mind you, I forgot to mention Jupiter is still in the sign of Gemini. So we got the sun, Mercury, moon, and Jupiter all in the sign of Gemini. This is mental thoughts on steroids because Gemini rules the mind, it rules our ideas. This will be a really beautiful time, everyone, to take a risk on an idea that we have had, that we have been sitting on. Connections, conversations, putting ourselves out there to connect to the people who can help us in the ideas that we have. Connect to the people who can help us in an area of our life where we might be stuck, right? Gemini loves to exchange ideas, exchange knowledge, and Mercury loves being in Gemini because Gemini is a Mercury ruled sign. So really allow the later half of May to be this exploratory month, to have conversations and to have the courage to ask the questions, to have the courage to put yourself out there, because Mercury and all this Gemini energy is making a nice aspect to Saturn in Aries sign wise, right? They're not going to make an exact conjunction, Jupiter or the moon specifically, but Mercury will at some point as it enters in. And this is a great time to take courageous action towards that idea, towards those groups of people, because you never know where something can lead and where something can take you. But other than that, that is all we have for the month of May. As I said, May is giving easy peasy with just a little bit of a retrograde and a taste into what Saturn in Aries is going to bring us. So definitely a more action-oriented month as we get to the later half of the month. Other than that, everyone, please feel free to let me know how these transits have been showing up for you. Always feel free to send me a message if you would like to see how certain planets are going to take shape in certain areas of your chart. And most importantly, how you can just make the best out of it. Instead of fear mongering, let's just make the best out of the energy and make the magic work for us. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you for our next video.